my name is Eddie. Today I'm gonna tell you 3 Titanic survivor stories. Number 1, George Beauchamp. George Beauchamp was born in Hampshire, England in 1888. And George was still a teenager. He embarked on a journey at sea. It turns out that he was fascinated by the sea so much that he was going to turn it into a career. Then he worked at the Union Castle Line, a cargo ship company between Europe and Africa. Then he worked at the White Star Line. He was really looking forward to work on the unsinkable Titanic, and he used all his power to get the position. That year, he was 42 years old. He needed to be younger to work, so he lied about his age and claimed that he is 32. And then he got the job. Night of the collision with the iceberg, George was on duty. The commander gave orders to tell them to immediately shut all the dampers. At that moment, the watertight doors shut completely to prevent any waters from coming in. But the water came beneath the floor, and then that's when the commander told them to all go upstairs. Once George went upstairs, he didn't look back until he made it to the boat deck. There was a list that signed each crew member to a different boat, but they didn't create the list until that morning, and not all the crew members get to see it. And when George got there, he was lost. He was signed to boat 13 when he finally managed to fill the boat with 70 people. He was given orders to lower it. He tried to save as many women and children as he can. At that moment, some men helped themselves in as well. It turns out that the men in the boat found more oars and helped guide the boat away from the Titanic. The Carpathia was the ship who came to the rescue, didn't pick up George's boat until the next morning, 9:50. That means they were floating in the water for more than 7 hours. George's boat was among the last ones to be picked up. After the Titanic, he became a crew member, this time on the Lusitania, and the Lusitania would also soon face a tragedy. The Lusitania was traveling on the southern coast of Ireland when it was easily spotted by a German U-boat. And then they fired a torpedo at the Lusitania. It was easily struck by the torpedo on the starboard bow. And then water started coming in at alarming speed. It became chaotic due to the large list of people and how fast the ship was sinking. Less than half of the people on board survived, and among those was George. After the Lusitania, George told his family that he will stop working on large ships. Then he moved to Southampton, England, and spent the rest of his days close to the sea. Number 2, Charles Herbert Lightoller. Charles Herbert Lightoller was the second officer on the Titanic. At the night of the collision with the iceberg, a crew member put his head around Charles Lightoller's door and said, "Do you know we struck an iceberg? The water is up to F deck in the mailroom." Charles Lightoller rushed to the bridge. When he got there, he asked the captain, "Should I get the women and children in the boats?" The captain nodded. So Charles Lightoller started to fill the boats with women and children. He said, "Women and children only." William Murdoch, the first officer, said women and children first. Then the last boat was collapsible B. Charles Lightoller and another seaman cut the rope and let the upside down collapsible B float into the water. Then after that, Charles Lightoller has been washed into the sea and been sucked down. That was going to be the end of Charles Lightoller, but boiler exploded and Charles Lightoller found himself near the collapsible raft he had lowered. At that point, the strings that attached Titanic's huge funnels to the ship gave away, and the huge funnel fell into the water with a splash. And then the funnel was missing Charles Lightoller by inches. Charles Lightoller just struggled to hold the rope attached to the boat as tightly as he can. And then 30 people managed to balance onto the collapsible. They pulled Charles Lightoller up to the collapsible. Charles Lightoller was the most senior officer to survive. In World War I, Charles Lightoller was the commander of a Royal Navy ship, and the ship was spotted by a Zeppelin. It was a kind of plane with 3 propellers and was almost as 200 feet long. And then Charles Lightoller told a sailor to just listen to the sound heard. Once the sailor told him there was a sound, Charles Lightoller used his Zeppelin gun, kept shooting the Zeppelin until the Zeppelin went away. But before the Zeppelin went away, it shot a lot of bombs, but it didn't land it on the ship. After that, Charles Lightoller was captain of HMS Gary, a river-class destroyer. He sank a German U-boat. The surviving crew from the U-boat were swimming. Charles Lightoller did not want to rescue them. But then a ship came. It led down some lifeboats. The HMS Gary rescued the crew anyway. Charles Lightoller retired. He built a ship called the Sundower. His son Herbert taught him how a plane targets a ship. Charles Lightoller watched and learned. It was useful, because one day a Stuka attacked the Sundower. Charles Lightoller did what his son had said. Then the Stuka fired a bomb on the ship. Charles Lightoller stood on the bow, and at the last moment, he gave orders to the bridge to turn the ship away as quickly as they could. And then when the bomb exploded, it didn't explode on the Sundower. The Sundower just turned away. Then Charles Lightoller wrote a book called Titanic and Other Ships. After that, Charles Lightoller died in 1952, but his Sundower could still be visited today. Number 3, Violet Jessop. Violet Jessop survived 3 ship disasters and 1 accident. She survived warship disaster in 1911, and also she survived the collision with HMS Hawk and RMS Olympic. Then she survived the most famous ship disaster, the Titanic. She was assigned to lifeboat number 16. She was also given a baby to take care of while they were in the lifeboat. Then she survived the Britannic disaster. This time she did not get in a lifeboat. She jumped overboard instead. She bumped her head onto the keel. She kept working on ships, but this time for Red Star Line. She retired in 1964, and then she spent her rest of her life gardening and raising chickens. And then one day, Violet Jessop received a strange phone call from an unknown woman. The woman asked her if she was the one who saved the baby on the day of the Titanic tragedy. Violet Jessop said yes. Then the woman said, "I am the baby." Violet Jessop died in 1970, but she was still remembered as Miss Unsinkable. Okay guys, this is the 3 Titanic survivor stories. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and bye for now!